I always tell my kids, just 'cause you can put glitter on something doesn't mean you can cover up what it truly is. Now that goes for the Poekirk Manor bed and breakfast we have here in town. It's now a real trendy spot, but when I was young, my mama was young, and even when my grandmama was young, that was the place you definitely wanted to avoid. There ain't that many Poekirks left in Hyacinth Holler, and the ones that have decided to remain do their best to distance themselves from their particular family history. Over 100 years ago, the Poekirk family built this house from the money they made supervising the mines around Hyacinth Holler. Believe it or not, we used to be a gold mine in town. But the Poekirks and the miners they employed learned that there ain't enough money in the world to cover up evil. Like most of the South and most of Appalachia, we got ourselves a real complicated history that winds and twists just as the abandoned mine shafts do all over underneath town. We've had surveyors over the years say they're surprised that the whole town hasn't collapsed into the ground and curled up into itself. Maybe it's all the bodies underneath that are still holding us up. Poekirk Mines had its fair share of cave-ins, accidents, and, well, kind of things that happen when men get greedy. And if you committed a heinous enough crime, well, they just seal you up under there and forget about you. And all this anger and greed started affecting the Poekirk family, and, well, unfortunately, the younger generations didn't last that long. And when they didn't last that long, some of them came back. You look over the old maps and you can see that part of the high school is built over a children's cemetery. Poekirks could probably afford to have the babies moved, but everybody else, well, they just had to live with it. And those who couldn't coped in their own ways. My gram had 7 siblings in that cemetery. Mines dried up around the same time that the Depression hit, and everybody who could cleared out. Some of the Poekirks were stubborn enough to stay, hoping that they'd find new veins. But when all they found was dust, they started chopping off bits of the land and selling it to anybody interested. They hung on to Poekirk Mansion for quite some time, but that's what happens when you commit the tax evasion. You gotta give something up. Stuart Declan's fixed the place up real nice, but he doesn't want to start getting into the foundation, even though everybody keeps telling him he's got to make sure that it's safe. But who wants to go digging underneath their house, metaphorical or physical? But if you're staying at the bed and breakfast and you hear the floorboards creaking, I wouldn't suggest investigating. Better just tuck yourself in and call it a night.